Here's a poem called The Vampire Express by Richard Spisak, and this is what he had to say when he sent it to me before the Halloween poetry party for which he wrote this, and I'm honored that he did. He says, I am a poet of the three rivers, a poet from the sandy shore, and now a mountain poet. This fresh poem is a true story. It happened just as I tell it. I dedicate this poem and its spirit to our host, Pankuri Sinha, whose generous spirit brings us together. And as always, I salute the spirit of each poet who honor us with your heart, sing. And his poem, The Vampire Express, in retreat. Inside a carpenter's heart there did stain an evil spirit's mark, made of his life hell dark. The spirit maintained an icy iron grip, and every day, in many ways, his grip on life slipped. She stole away his life, carried him off into her hell. He could neither move, see, nor speak, when from her lips came that spell. She took him all over in speech and in sight. Each movement of his controlled, he was in constant fright. She spoke in a voice liquid like velvet, but what she took from his life, none could ever tell it. She commanded his actions, she spoke her own words, she stole all his life like a lost flock of birds. She filled him with fear and it brought her delight. All his friends fled away, such a terrible sight. Not one moment was his from her grasp, never free. She steal him away, and any time that she chose, what was left was exhaustion. Great patches of black from dawn through till midnight. All his life she'd ransacked. When under control, all the lights seemed to dim. You could see him fall away as she took over each limb. His shirt would come off, a bare-breasted maid, but the glare from her eyes made each trembling witness afraid. Like a fall from a great height, terror filled his eyes when that malignant thief took over his form in her carpenter disguise. I was asked to attend this mass when the man would be displayed, uninterested pass. But everyone hoped the spirit would come, and a few wine glasses later the whole circle was numb. The host that asked me, he really tasked me. If it is true, what would you do if a ghost took over someone right there next to you? You gotta come, chum, but I do not believe. Then you're relieved. You needn't be scared, but if you dare to come, why don't you, chum? We arrived just before they hit the door. The room got dark, colors blanched, it was stark. Darker and darker, then real chill began. The hand of man stayed, some even prayed as the victim staggered in. The man's handler announced with a lurch, she's on her way. What could we say? The circle formed, several squirmed, and the key in the lock had started to turn. A moment ago, just a little old man, as if you'd seen him by a tavern door or in a seat in an alley, his life's empty score. Then he suddenly shivered as the spirit came in. The room darkened again and up came his chin. A regal bearing soon struck his form, and a haughty sneer crawled across his face like a worm. A little further just then, just when we all fell from grace, as a very presence tainted the place. The circle shivered. Many looked down, unable to meet the thing's regal glare, like some hells down. Its piercing eyes seemed to crop from some pit you'd almost expected to find him dripping with gore, or staring out from a dank, dungeous store. Instead, you were almost looking through mist like the caress of a demon with a poisoned kiss. Reaching into this very room, the sounds of some distant hell seemed to loom, and hellish laughter came after like the tolling of doom. Each willing victim in its share, for that fearsome creature's pleasure fair. They squirmed in their seats, all eyes averted, until compelled by this creature, and all hope deserted. With each glaring, the victim drained, betrayed. The creature grew stronger, and each victim seemed wilted, and in terror sat there for the slaughter. I watched that creature dine on each victim, somehow mesmerized and vanquished as this demon had tricked them. They thought they'd come to this circle for entertainment, delight, and little suspected there'd be dinner, all right. And one by one, as the creature stole into each heart, the victims sat, wilted, and drained for their part. In their plight, what might come next that night, they were glued in their chairs. The creature's red visage gleamed as it dined on their fears. Something awoke in my heart as the danger grew closer, and a tiny voice reminded me what I had read in a coaster. When confronted by demons alone in the dark, you can avoid any danger by firing up truth's spark. Demand of the creature by God's holy throne, that standing before you she must hold to truth whole. There's somebody here who wants only the truth. What's he doing here? He'll none of my forsooth. The creature tried mocking, it shifted its glance, it tried to recover its fearsome stance. When confronted by demons alone in the dark, you can avoid any danger by lighting truth's spark. I swear at the foot of God's scared throne. I swear at the foot of God's sacred throne, you will speak only your truth here, or you will be leaving alone. There is darkness right here, darkness all around. All is here in this darkness. That much I found. She was technically right, but the room was quite dark. But that wouldn't delay me. I conjured truth's spark. You speak of darkness, you revel and worship. Speak to us of Hepra, the sun's nightly glory. The beetle, she shouted, that ended the story. She fled his head to God's greater glory. So that was something like an exorcist story told in this poem. Quite wonderful. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope it scared you.